Close your eyes for a moment and imagine stepping into a city you know well, yet something about it feels profoundly wrong. The neon lights still glow above the streets, the crosswalk lines still stretch across the asphalt, and the towers still rise against the night sky, but the people are gone. No footsteps, no voices, only the hum of empty screens and the whisper of wind drifting through deserted alleys. This is the Borderland, a world that mirrors Tokyo, but strips it of its heartbeat, leaving only silence, decay, and the weight of unseen rules. Here, every day is borrowed time. A glowing card on a giant screen decides whether you live or die. A ticking visa on your wrist reminds you that survival must be earned. The Borderland is not just a backdrop, but a mirror, a stage where courage and betrayal, fear and hope come alive in their rawest form. It is a place where you cannot hide from yourself, because every choice is a reflection of who you truly are. If you enjoy this journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can follow us deeper into the cosmos. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine waking in a city you know well. The towers of Shinjuku still rise in the distance, sharp against the sky. The billboards at Shibuya Crossing still blaze with light, and the neon signs still hum faintly, as though the city has never slept. At first glance, it is unmistakably Tokyo, the city that pulses with life, that beats like a heart through every hour of the day. But listen more closely, and you will hear what has changed. There are no footsteps rushing past, no laughter carried on the wind, no car engines rumbling through the avenues. The silence is too deep, too heavy, pressing against you with the weight of something missing. Everything is here, except life. The city has not collapsed in ruin. The streets remain paved. The skyscrapers still stand. The infrastructure has not fallen. Yet it feels forsaken, as if abandoned in a single moment and left for nature to reclaim. Trash drifts across the sidewalks. Scraps roll along with the breeze. Ivy curls up mirrored facades, and weeds split through cracks in the pavement. Elevators stand open, but wait for no passengers. Subways sit in their tunnels, perfectly intact, but the trains never arrive. It is Tokyo preserved in form, but stripped of its soul. You step into Shibuya Crossing, once a place where thousands poured across the painted lines in a single breath. Here, people once brushed past one another without notice, a tide of strangers surging from every direction. Now litter dances in the empty wind, and the massive screens flash sporadically, releasing only a faint crackle into the void. The glow stretches your shadow long and thin across the asphalt. Every detail is familiar, yet your heart whispers a truth. Your eyes hesitate to accept. This is not Tokyo. That is because it isn't. This place is called the Borderland. It wears the face of Tokyo, but it is not the Tokyo you knew. It is a mirror city, a parallel world where time seems suspended, where ordinary rules have been stripped away. Every district remains: Shibuya, Shinjuku, Ginza, Uno, laid out exactly as they are in reality, as though the city had been lifted whole and transplanted into another dimension. But the Borderland is not boundless. Walk far enough, and you will meet its edges. Beyond the last rows of apartments and high-rises, there are forests so dense no one can pass through. Mountains rise like walls, hemming you in, immovable and absolute. In other places, deserts stretch out in every direction, barren and endless, with no road to guide you. At first the city seems vast, but soon you understand it is a cage, carefully designed to contain everyone who has been pulled inside. This world is not a dream from which you will wake, nor a simple hallucination. The Borderland is real in its own way, though it belongs to no reality you once knew. Its emptiness feels deliberate, as though constructed with intent. It is not the wreckage of a disaster, but the architecture of another existence. A stage perfect in detail, but void of actors, waiting for its true purpose to reveal itself. And so you stand in the silence, surrounded by streets that echo with memories, by towers that loom without meaning, by a city that appears alive, but no longer belongs to the world you knew. You run toward the edge, desperate for a way out, but the forest thickens, the mountains rise higher, the desert stretches further. Every path turns back into itself. The truth settles in with undeniable clarity. This is not Tokyo. This is the Borderland, and you have crossed into another world, one that will decide, by its own rules, whether you survive. Everyone who arrives here shares a secret they did not choose. They have all stood at the edge of death. Some were struck down in the chaos of the city, some crushed beneath falling steel, some pierced by shards of glass when the fireballs streaked through Tokyo's sky. In the world they left behind, they had only moments to live. Yet instead of dying, their eyes opened to this place, the Borderland. The Borderland is not for the healthy or the unscarred. It is for those whose bodies, in the real world, lie broken on the edge of life. Here, they awaken whole, as if their wounds have vanished. But the truth is crueler. This world is not a reprieve, but a limbo. It is the space between survival and death, a holding ground where the human spirit is weighed. Think of the meteor that tore across Tokyo, its shockwave ripping through streets, collapsing buildings, crushing thousands. In its aftermath, countless lives hovered between one heartbeat and the next, suspended in that fragile interval where death had almost claimed them, but not yet. The Borderland takes root in that instant. It draws in those souls, lifting them from their bodies and setting them down inside this mirrored Tokyo, a city familiar enough to disarm you, yet empty enough to remind you that you do not belong. Here you are given no comfort, no answers, only a question written into the very air. Do you wish to live? The Borderland does not speak in words, but in its design. Its silence confronts you with emptiness. Its confinement reminds you escape is impossible. And above all, its games, deadly trials born of cards and rules, force you to choose again and again whether your will to live is strong enough to endure fear, pain, and betrayal. This world does not measure strength of body alone. It weighs resilience of spirit, clarity of mind, and the raw desire to cling to existence when everything tells you to let go. To live in the Borderland is to be tested in every way a person can be. Each trial asks, will you sacrifice others for yourself? Will you trust when betrayal is certain? Will you confront terror head-on or bow to despair? Every decision draws you closer to an answer, not about the game, but about yourself. It is no accident that the Borderland feels like a purgatory, a threshold between one state and another. In myths and ancient stories, there are always places where souls are judged, where they must prove themselves before moving on. The Borderland is such a place, modern in appearance, technological in detail, but ancient in essence. It is the weighing of the heart, the crossing of the river, the trial before the gates. And what of those who fail? Their bodies in the real world take their final breath, and the thread that tethered them here is cut. They vanish, struck down by lasers from the sky or explosions at their throats, and their lives end both in this world and the last. For them, the limbo collapses into silence, and there is no return. But for those who endure, who press forward with courage, cunning, or sheer stubborn will, the Borderland offers something else. The possibility of returning to life, or of remaining forever within its boundaries. It is a cruel bargain, but also a gift. To pass through this place is to face yourself without illusions. Stand once more in the empty streets. The air hums faintly, and in the distance you hear the echo of something vast and unseen, as though the world itself is watching. You realize then that the Borderland is not merely a place. It is a question, and until you answer it, you remain suspended between life and death, caught in the fragile twilight, where every choice decides not just survival, but meaning. In the Borderland, the old rules have vanished. There are no laws, no courts, no governments to appeal to. The structures of society, its protections, its order, have dissolved into silence. What remains is a single law, simple and merciless: play or die. Every game begins with a card, On the surface, it is nothing more than an ordinary playing card, but here it is the engine of fate. Each suit carries a meaning. Each number determines the scale of suffering to come. Draw the wrong card, and you may find yourself pushed into trials that will twist your body, your mind, your trust in others. Yet you cannot refuse. The card has spoken, and the game will begin. The suits are the first thing you learn to fear. A spade means physical endurance, tests of strength, speed, survival in brutal conditions, where only the hardiest emerge alive. Diamonds demand cunning, intellect, strategy. To survive these games, you must think faster, sharper, more ruthlessly than anyone else. Clubs appear deceptively hopeful. They are games of cooperation, where victory depends on whether people can work together. But even here, the threat of betrayal shadows every step. And then there are hearts, the cruelest of all. Heart games reach into the deepest part of the human psyche, forcing you to gamble with trust, to weigh loyalty against self-preservation, to watch suspicion bloom until it poisons everything. The number on the card is the measure of difficulty. A 2 may be a nuisance, a 4, a strain, a 7, a brutal contest. The higher the number, the more merciless the game, until a face card confronts you with something near impossible. Each challenge is designed not just to kill, but to break, and yet you have no choice but to play. When you win, you are not rewarded with riches or freedom. Instead, you receive time, measured in days of survival. This time is called a visa, a cruel countdown that ticks away in the corner of your life. A 2 may grant you 2 days, a 6 days, but the clock never stops. Lose track of it, and the penalty is instant. When the visa reaches 0, a searing beam of light drops from the sky, piercing your skull and erasing you where you stand. Refuse to enter a game, the same light will find you. Attempt to escape, it will strike you down. In the Borderland, the laser is merciless, absolute, the executioner of the one rule that cannot be broken: play or perish. This mechanic ensures that no one can linger idle. Every survivor is bound to the cycle of games, to the endless search for new cards, for more days of existence. The Borderland is built on this rhythm of fear. Life is extended in fragments, 2 days here, 3 there, never enough to feel safe, always enough to tempt you onward. It is a system both elegant and cruel. Each card is a promise and a threat. Each game is a negotiation with death, and every participant is reduced to the same truth. Survival is not guaranteed by strength or intelligence alone, but by the willingness to keep playing, no matter how much it costs. The Borderland does not last forever, though its silence feels endless, though its games seem to repeat without mercy. There is a structure hidden in the design, a cycle as precise as the deck of cards that governs it. 52 cards, like the deck you once held for leisure, are here transformed into a map of survival and despair. The cycle begins with the numbered cards, 40 challenges spread across the suits, spades that crush your body, diamonds that test your mind, clubs that press you into fragile alliances, hearts that tear apart your trust. Each card conquered is a victory, not only against death, but against time, adding days to your visa, carrying you closer to the heart of the Borderland. Yet the more you advance, the harsher the trials become. The low numbers give way to higher ones, until you face the kings, queens, and jacks. These 12 face cards mark the final gauntlet, the endgame of the Borderland. Each is more than a contest. It is an ordeal designed to break groups, to grind survivors until only a few remain. They demand everything you have left: strength, cunning, trust. To endure them is to scrape against the edge of human possibility. When the last face card falls, the cycle is complete. The Borderland has been conquered, but victory here is never simple. It does not hand you freedom wrapped in triumph. Instead, it offers a choice, a cruel question whispered at the very end of the nightmare. Do you wish to return to the world you left behind? The offer is tempting. To wake once more in Tokyo, to breathe in the noise and color of life, to step back into the warmth of the ordinary. And yet the price is steep. If you return, the memories of the Borderland will be stripped away, erased as if none of it ever happened. The pain, the betrayals, the fleeting bonds, the lessons carved into your soul, all dissolved into nothing. You awaken as though from a dream, your body whole, but your heart emptied. Or you may refuse, you may choose to remain here, to accept the title of citizen. To do so is to forfeit waking, to bind yourself forever to the Borderland. Citizens are not players. They become part of the world itself, guardians of the next cycle, architects of the games that devour the new arrivals. They are immortals of a kind, but also prisoners, trapped in the limbo they chose. It is cruel symmetry. For every player who escapes, forgetting everything, another stays behind to carry the weight of the Borderland forward. The cycle feeds itself, renewed each time the 52 cards are claimed. No game is the last, no victory final. The Borderland perpetuates itself through the choices of survivors, binding the living and the lost into an endless wheel. And so the purpose reveals itself. The Borderland is not chaos, but ritual. It strips you down, tests your will, pushes you through suffering, until the final question must be answered. Will you abandon memory for life, or sacrifice life for meaning? Neither path is without loss. Both ripple through the next generation of players. Stand again at Shibuya Crossing, this time at the end of the cycle. The air is heavy, the silence absolute, as though the city itself is holding its breath. The cards have been played, the games completed, and the world waits for your choice. Do you return to life, forgetting this place, as if it never existed? Or do you remain, surrendering yourself to eternity within these walls? The Borderland is not simply an empty city. It is a mirror held up to the human condition, polished to reflect what lies beneath the surface of survival. In its hollow streets and endless silence, it presents you with yourself, your hunger to live, your fear of loss, your capacity for cruelty, and your fragile hope. Every part of its design speaks this truth. The landscape is not destroyed but abandoned, waiting to press upon you the weight of isolation. It is a Tokyo without heartbeat, reminding you that the world's form means nothing without the pulse of its people. The rules are stripped down to their sharpest point: play or perish. Each card is a reminder that life is fragile, that existence can hinge on a single moment of strength, wit, or trust. Together, the place and its laws entwine, forcing you to see how survival is never just about endurance of the body, but about the choices you make when everything is at stake. And yet, beyond its cruelty, the Borderland carries a strange clarity. It reminds you that every moment is precarious, every breath borrowed. Outside in the living world, we forget how fragile existence is. We hide from death with routine, distraction, the comfort of daily life. But here, you cannot hide. The Borderland forces you to face the truth. Life is nothing more than a game we play with time, and every second matters. It is in this sense that the Borderland becomes more than a prison. It becomes a metaphor, a stage on which every heartbeat, every decision, every betrayal or act of kindness is magnified. Each trial is a reminder that life outside these walls is just as uncertain, though we may choose to ignore it. Each card is a reflection of choices we make every day: to trust or betray, to endure or surrender, to sacrifice or to cling to what is ours. The Borderland strips away the comfort of forgetting and forces us to see that existence itself is always a wager. So you stand in this deserted city, surrounded by towers that loom like silent witnesses, by streets that echo with nothing but memory. You realize the Borderland is both stage and mirror, trial and truth. It reduces life to its rawest form, a gamble, a fragile balance of hope and despair, where every moment could tip the scales. And with that realization comes understanding. The Borderland was never only about its abandoned buildings or its merciless rules. It was about the reflection it forces upon you, the confrontation with who you are when stripped of illusions. Now the first picture is complete. You have seen its empty streets, its rules, its cycles, its choices, and its meaning. The Borderland has revealed itself as both a place and a question. And so, the time comes to move forward. Beyond this foundation lies another layer, the communities formed in desperation, the alliances and betrayals, the fragile societies struggling to survive inside the cage. If the Borderland has shown you the structure of the world, what comes next will show you the people who live, fight, and break within it. The Borderland wears the face of Tokyo, but it is a Tokyo hollowed out, stripped of its pulse, left standing as a monument to absence. You step into it as though walking through a memory, each street arranged exactly as you remember, each landmark where it should be, and yet the silence unsettles you more than any ruin could. It is not destruction that defines this place, but vacancy. No bombs have torn apart its skyline. No fire has consumed its avenues. The towers still reach for the sky. The trains rest neatly on their tracks. The electronic advertisements glow with stubborn light. Yet every surface whispers abandonment. Trash piles in gutters, pushed by winds no hand bothers to sweep away. Dust clings to the windows of cars whose engines have long since cooled. Ivy snakes up mirrored glass, vines weaving through cracks in the concrete, winding around steel beams, painting the city with relentless green. Nature does not wait, it reclaims. Slowly, steadily, the living world pushes forward where humanity has disappeared. And yet the most unsettling part is not decay, it is persistence. The city moves without its people, clinging to routines that no longer matter. Traffic lights blink obediently from red to green, waiting for pedestrians who will never come. Escalators hum in shopping malls, carrying no one upward. Elevators glow with open doors, as though anticipating passengers who will never arrive. The motions of a once living world repeat themselves, grotesque echoes of a life erased. This tension, the preservation of form, the absence of function, presses into your mind. You recognize the streets, the train stations, the parks, but each familiarity feels wrong. Tokyo has become a mannequin, outwardly intact, inwardly hollow, not dead in the way ruins are, but vacant in the way a wax figure resembles a human being. A body remains, but its soul is gone. Nowhere is this contradiction more haunting than Shibuya Crossing. Once it was the beating heart of the city, where thousands surged across the intersection at every change of the light, weaving through one another in choreographed chaos. Now, you stand alone at its center. The painted lines stretch across the asphalt like veins drained of blood. The massive screens above still flicker, their static glow casting long shadows, but their images mean nothing without an audience. The only sound is the restless whisper of paper scraps caught in the wind. Your own breathing echoes, loud and uneven, filling the cavernous silence. The longer you linger, the heavier the emptiness becomes. A bench at the corner recalls friends waiting, their laughter filling the night. Now the wood is cracked, covered in dust, surrounded by discarded bottles. A bus stands at its stop, doors shut, its windows clouded, as if it has waited months for a driver who will never return. Every trace of daily life remains frozen, but the people who once animated them are gone. The result is a city both familiar and alien, a dream you recognize, but know instinctively is false. Shinjuku, Shibuya, Ginza, Ueno, names that once promised noise and light, now stand hollow, monuments to absence. The comfort of recognition twists into unease, every landmark inverted, made uncanny by what is missing. As you wander deeper, the dissonance sharpens. Apartment towers loom with curtains drawn, but no light glows behind them. Stores remain stocked, shelves heavy with goods, but no clerks stand at the counters. Train stations echo with recorded announcements, words cast into emptiness. It feels less like a city destroyed than a city paused, time itself arrested mid-breath. And yet, for all its emptiness, the Borderland feels alive. Silence carries weight. Lights flicker, Shadows shift, scraps of paper skitter across the asphalt as though driven by more than wind. Every corner seems to watch you. Every street hums with unseen attention. It is this eerie presence beneath the absence that convinces you. This world was not abandoned by chance. It was constructed deliberately, a stage where emptiness itself becomes oppressive. You return to Shibuya Crossing. Neon bleeds into the night. Ivy climbs like veins of green fire, and your shadow stretches long across painted lines. The place feels familiar enough to disarm you, alien enough to unnerve you. Tokyo's shell confronts you with what has been stripped away. In this ghost city, you grasp the truth. This is no Tokyo, but a mirror world built to test your life. The Borderland is not only empty in its streets and buildings, it is suffocating in its air. From the moment you awaken here, the first thing you feel is not silence, but heat. The city breathes with a summer that never ends, a season stretched beyond all reason, pressing against your skin, slowing your steps, seeping into your lungs. It is as if spring and winter have been erased, as if autumn has never existed. Only this relentless heat remains, suspended in time. The sky often gleams a pale blue, cloudless and wide, but the beauty of it deceives you. The air is heavy, thick with humidity that clings to your body like damp cloth. Every breath tastes faintly of rot, as though the city itself is decaying. The odor of trash left uncollected, of leaves collapsing into mulch, of vines thick with mildew, seeps into every street. It is not the sharp stink of a single moment's neglect, but a steady, oppressive presence, a reminder that nothing here is tended, nothing is cared for. The world has been abandoned, and the air itself knows it. Walk long enough, and the heat becomes a weight. It settles across your shoulders, pressing down with invisible hands, forcing your steps to drag. The concrete radiates warmth into the soles of your feet. The glass towers reflect the sun with blinding glare, and the shadows you seek for refuge never feel cool enough. Even at night, the heat does not lift. The air grows darker, the neon lights burn on, but the temperature holds, a stagnant, unmoving curtain. There is no relief, no variation, only the endless persistence of summer. This constancy disorients you. In the living world, seasons change. Spring awakens, autumn decays, winter forces you inward. Here, there is no such rhythm. The trees grow wild with no sense of cycle. Vines tighten without pause. Flowers bloom and wither in the same breath. It is as if the city has been locked into a single moment of time, stripped of the comfort of change. The sun rises and falls, yes, but its cycle feels mechanical, empty of meaning, incapable of bringing renewal. The day does not end in rest, nor does the night restore. Each morning feels indistinguishable from the last, each evening like a repetition of the one before. And still, the city smells of endings. The air carries with it the sour tang of fruit, rotting in forgotten markets, the musk of damp soil overgrowing in the cracks, the acrid undertone of metal rusting in place. There is no fresh breeze, no crisp note of renewal. Even the wind, when it comes, carries heaviness instead of clarity. It stirs the garbage, shakes the vines, rattles loose shutters, but never refreshes. The atmosphere here clings, reminding you with each breath that you are inhaling a place in slow decay. It is in this climate that the Borderland presses its weight upon you most. The silence of the city can be endured. The emptiness of the streets can be understood. But the air itself feels designed to exhaust you, to wear you down before the games even begin. The relentless heat dulls your body, the stench corrodes your mind, the sameness of time numbs your spirit. You are caught in a season that will not end, trapped in a cycle that offers no relief, forced to carry not only the burden of survival, but the constant drag of the atmosphere itself. Shibuya Crossing, once vibrant beneath four distinct skies, is now an oven of glass and asphalt. The screens flash their meaningless images into the thick heat, their colors blurring in the haze. Ivy clings to the towers as though thriving in this new permanence, a species adapted to a world without seasons, and you, sweat slicking your neck, lungs heavy with humidity, realize that even the act of standing still is labor here. The Borderland is not only a mirror of Tokyo emptied of life, but of Tokyo stripped of rhythm. It is summer extended to eternity, a world without spring's hope, autumn's reflection, or winter's quiet. And in that endless summer, you feel the true weight of the Borderland, not just silence, not just absence, but oppression carried in every breath of its air. The Borderland does not stretch on forever. For all its vastness, for all the miles of pavement and towers that mimic Tokyo's endless sprawl, there comes a point where the city halts. You can walk until your legs give out, run through intersections and avenues until your breath burns, but eventually the streets collapse into wilderness. It is here, at the edges, that the truth of the Borderland reveals itself, not as a world, but as a cage. At first, the transition feels subtle. The concrete thins, the roads narrow, the glow of neon fades. Abandoned apartment blocks give way to empty fields, the structures standing like broken teeth at the mouth of something larger. But then the city stops entirely, cut short as though erased by a hand. In its place, forests rise, dense and impenetrable, walls of green that stretch upward and outward, their canopy blotting out the sky. You can push into them for a time, forcing through thorns and roots, but the deeper you go, the more impossible it becomes. Branches knot themselves together like bars, trunks close in tight, shadows thicken until you are swallowed whole. There is no path, no passage, no road to take. In other places, the city bleeds into mountains, stone walls that climb into the clouds, their slopes too sheer to climb, too endless to circumvent. From a distance, they seem almost beautiful, ridgelines glowing under the heat of the eternal summer sun. Up close, they are merciless, an unbroken barricade, reminding you that you are penned in. No rope, no strength, no desperate scramble can surmount them. The Borderland holds you within its walls, and those walls are as natural as they are absolute. And then there are the deserts. You find them in places where the highways sputter out, where bridges collapse not into rivers, but into seas of sand. They stretch farther than the eye can see, vast expanses shimmering under the relentless sun. At first you think you might cross them, that somewhere on the horizon a way out might exist. But the farther you walk, the more the world turns hostile. The heat gnaws at your skin, the sand shifts beneath your steps, and the horizon never grows closer. It is endless, a mirage designed to exhaust hope. To set foot in those deserts is to admit defeat before you begin. No matter which direction you take, the result is always the same. The city folds into boundaries you cannot pass. The forests close, the mountains tower, the deserts sprawl. Every attempt to escape is swallowed by nature, not the gentle nature of renewal, but the brutal nature of confinement. The Borderland is not limitless. It is a box, a carefully measured stage, with walls disguised as wilderness, and you are trapped inside it. The knowledge seeps in slowly, heavy as the heat that already weighs on your body. At first, you think there must be a trick, some secret passage waiting to be discovered, some road overlooked. But every expedition ends in failure. Survivors who try vanish into the forests and never return, their silence an answer in itself. Groups that attempt the mountains fall apart under exhaustion, their bodies found crumpled on the slopes or lost to the shadows. The deserts swallow water, energy, and willpower alike, until only the sand remains. You begin to understand why the city feels so claustrophobic despite its size. It is not because the streets are narrow or the buildings oppressive, but because there is nowhere else to go. Every road loops inward, every hope of escape collapses against the edges. The Borderland has been built as a lidded jar, transparent enough to show you its boundaries, cruel enough to deny you a way past them. At Shibuya Crossing, the illusion shatters. The painted lines stretch outward, yet every road ends at the same impassable walls. The city mimics freedom, but the forests, mountains, and deserts prove otherwise. They are not landscapes but bars, the edges of a cage disguised as wilderness. Recognition lures you in, confinement holds you fast. You can walk for hours, wander in circles, but escape never comes. And that is the true horror, not silence, not heat, but certainty. The knowledge that this place was crafted to contain you, a prison too vast to outrun, too deliberate to dismantle. The Borderland is not merely a silent backdrop, it is a stage constructed with intent, a world built to resemble Tokyo while stripping it of everything that made it real. What remains is not a city but a trap, a carefully sealed enclosure where every street, every shadow, every flicker of light reminds you that you are caught in a design larger than yourself. The streets and districts are familiar, but their familiarity is twisted. The skyscrapers stand where they should, the crossings unfold just as you remember, and the neighborhoods sprawl in their proper order. Yet the recognition is poisoned by absence. This Tokyo is not alive. It is a hollow reflection, a facsimile drained of meaning. Every landmark confronts you not with what it is, but with what it no longer contains. You walk the streets of Shinjuku or Ginza, but you cannot escape the sensation that you are walking inside a photograph, a still frame of life that has lost its motion. The climate reinforces this unease. The Borderland is locked into a single endless season, a summer stretched until it becomes unnatural. The air is heavy with heat and humidity, pressing on your body until even breathing feels like work. There is no spring to refresh, no winter to cleanse, no autumn to remind you of endings. Time moves, the sun rises and falls, day becomes night, but it does not progress. Each morning feels the same as the last, each evening indistinguishable from the one before. It is not the passage of time you feel here, but its stagnation, a wheel turning without moving forward. And around the edges, the confinement is absolute. The forests close in, trunks and branches woven so tightly they become walls of green. The mountains rise like fortresses, their ridges endless, their slopes impossible. The deserts stretch farther than sight, their horizons mirages that never grow closer. No matter which way you walk, the city folds into barriers you cannot cross. The Borderland is not infinite. It is bounded, a cage disguised as wilderness. The more you explore, the clearer it becomes. You are trapped inside a jar, with its lid sealed, able to see the walls that contain you, but powerless to push through them. Taken together, these elements, the twisted familiarity, the suffocating climate, the sealed borders, create more than a setting. They create a pressure, a weight that presses down on every step you take. The city is not neutral ground. It is an active participant in the trial. Its silence exhausts you. Its air erodes your strength. Its walls deny you escape. Everything in the Borderland is arranged to force your focus inward toward the only outlet left, the games. This is the cruel genius of the Borderland. The environment strips away distractions, comforts, illusions of freedom. It reduces the world until all that remains is you, the heat on your skin, the walls at your back, and the rules that govern survival. In such a place, you have no choice but to obey. The Borderland makes sure of it. At Shibuya Crossing, the lesson crystallizes. The painted lines stretch out in all directions, but every one of them ends at the same impassable edges. The giant screens flash and crackle, but their light illuminates only emptiness. Your shadow stretches long across the intersection, and in that moment, you understand this world was never built to be lived in. It was built to contain, to constrain, to funnel. The city itself is the cage, and the games are the lock. And so the space of the Borderland is not backdrop, but mechanism. It is both prison and stage, mirror and snare. It forces you to move within its boundaries, to endure its suffocating climate, to feel the futility of escape. Only then, when the environment has stripped you bare, do the true rules emerge. For inside this cage, survival is not left to chance. It is dictated by the turn of cards, by trials designed to weigh your body, your mind, your heart. The Borderland makes sure you cannot run. It leaves you only one option to play. In the Borderland, there is no constitution, no police, no government to enforce order. The streets may still look like Tokyo, but the structures of society have crumbled into silence. What replaces them is not democracy or law, but something far simpler and far harsher: the game. Here, existence is tethered not to rights or freedoms, but to participation. Play, and you may live. Refuse, and death comes instantly, clean and merciless. The announcement arrives every night. Across the skyline, screens that once advertised brands and concerts now serve a single purpose. Their glow cuts through the darkness, commanding attention. Words flare across them in cold, indifferent fonts. The location, the time, the card that determines the nature of the trial. The city itself becomes the host, its empty towers echoing the summons. No explanation is given, no reassurance offered. There is only the directive: attend or perish. For those who hesitate, the punishment is swift. A laser descends from the sky, a beam of light as thin as a thread and as absolute as fate. It pierces skulls in an instant, silencing those who dared to ignore the rules. There is no negotiation, no mercy. The Borderland does not tolerate rebellion. Its laws are not written on paper, but inscribed in the very sky. Every survivor learns quickly. Absence from the game is not survival, but suicide. And so, when the summons comes, players move. They gather in silence, their footsteps echoing through the empty streets as they follow the directions displayed above. Sometimes the arena is an abandoned office tower, its windows shattered, its halls dimly lit. Other times it is a subway station, the tracks humming with phantom energy. The city itself becomes the board, each location reshaped into a stage for trial. No place is exempt. Any corner may become the site of struggle. Inside, the game begins without ceremony. The rules appear projected in light, stark and concise. The card that presides, spade, diamond, club, heart, decides the kind of torment to follow. The number dictates the scale. Low cards mean smaller challenges. High cards promise ordeals that test the limits of human will. The players have no say in what they face, only the choice of whether to step forward or to die where they stand. It is in these moments that the collapse of social order becomes undeniable. In the world you left behind, you could rely on laws, on institutions, on the idea that someone might intervene. Here, nothing intervenes. The only authority is the game itself. Strangers who might have passed each other politely on the streets of Tokyo now stare at one another with suspicion. Allies for a moment, but potential enemies the next. Trust evaporates quickly, burned away by the clarity of the rules. Only those who win survive. And yet, there is no alternative. The Borderland is structured so that every road funnels back to this inevitability. The climate exhausts you, the silence isolates you, the sealed borders deny you escape. All of it pushes you toward the one outlet left: the games. They are not just diversions or punishments, they are the mechanism of existence. In this world, the game is everything. Stand again at Shibuya Crossing and watch the summons flash across the sky. The same screens that once drowned you in advertisements now dictate whether you will live another day. Their cold light reflects off the asphalt, casting shadows that stretch long and thin. Around you, other players emerge from the darkness, each with the same grim knowledge: there is no law, no protection, no society left to lean on. Only the game remains, and to survive here, you must play. Among the fractured groups and fleeting alliances of the Borderland, one place stands apart. It is called the Beach, a deserted seaside resort, transformed into the largest and most ambitious community in this hollow world, where the city's towers echo with silence. The beach hums with noise. Laughter spills across its hallways, music thunders through its abandoned lobbies, and bodies clothed in bright, flamboyant garments sway in drunken revelry. On the surface, it looks like defiance itself, a community that has chosen life over despair, celebration over fear. At first sight, the beach feels almost utopian. Survivors who once stumbled alone through the empty streets now find themselves part of something larger. They gather in the vast resort halls, sharing food, alcohol, and the comfort of numbers. There is dancing, there are bonfires, there is the illusion that death has been banished, at least for a night. Some wear Hawaiian shirts, others costumes. Some even walk barefoot through the sand as if they were on holiday. The chaos of the Borderland seems far away, drowned out by the sound of clinking glasses and shouted songs. For many, it is the first time they feel human again. But the beach is not a paradise. It is a system, designed and enforced by a man named Hatter, a charismatic figure who declared himself its leader. Under his rule, the beach runs according to strict laws. Every card won in a game must be surrendered to the collective. No individual hoards. No one keeps what they have earned. The cards are stockpiled, organized, and displayed like trophies, part of Hatter's greater vision to gather the full deck of 52, believing it to be the key to escaping the Borderland altogether. This dream binds the beach together, but it also chains its members. Behind the bright clothes and endless parties, discipline is severe. Those who defy the rules face swift punishment. Those who withhold cards are branded traitors, hunted down, and executed. Fear keeps order as much as hope does. The community survives not only because people believe in Hatter's utopia, but because they know what happens if they rebel. And beneath the surface of unity, divisions fester. Hatter preaches a vision of cooperation, of gathering strength through solidarity, but others see the beach not as a dream, but as a throne. Among them is Naragi, one of the most feared enforcers, who rules through violence rather than charisma. Where Hatter cloaks authority in the language of hope, Naragi wields his openly, commanding gangs of loyal followers who thrive on intimidation. Their presence twists the beach from haven to battlefield, a place where idealism and brutality collide. The result is a community suspended between utopia and illusion. To outsiders, the beach looks like salvation, order amid chaos, structure amid lawlessness, belonging in a world of isolation. But for those inside, the cracks are impossible to ignore. The songs and laughter are loud, but they cannot drown out the sound of power being contested in the shadows. Every dance beneath the neon lights carries the knowledge that tomorrow may bring blood. The beach is both a refuge and a trap. It offers survivors a chance to live together, to imagine they have reclaimed something of the world they lost. But the price is submission to Hatter's dream, to Naragi's violence, to rules written in fear. The resort may glitter like utopia, but its foundations are soaked in control. Stand on the shore, and you can hear the waves lapping gently against the sand, the music echoing across the water. It almost feels like life has returned, and yet, behind every smile, every glass raised to the night sky, lies the same truth. The Borderland has not been escaped, only disguised. The beach is not freedom, it is illusion, wrapped in color, built on fear, and destined to fracture. In the Borderland, survival is never granted freely. Even victory in the games does not mean safety. It only buys you time. That time is measured not in years or months, but in the cruel language of the visa, a digital countdown etched into your life, glowing faintly on the screen of a phone you never asked to carry. The visa appears the moment you awaken here, a number pulsing like a second heartbeat. It marks the days you have left, shrinking with every sunrise. When it reaches 0, you do not simply collapse, nor do you fade away. The sky opens, a pinpoint of light sharpens, and a laser descends with surgical precision. It pierces your skull in silence, instant and merciless. There is no escape, no delay, no appeal. Death in the Borderland does not arrive with chaos, but with certainty, clean as the stroke of a blade. Games are the only way to extend the countdown. Each card carries with it not just a challenge, but a prize. Additional days added to your visa. A 2 grants 2 days, a 6-6, a 10-10. The reward matches the number, cruelly logical, reminding you that time here is currency. Winning does not grant freedom, nor does it erase the visa. It only pushes the clock back slightly, never far enough to feel secure. No matter how many days you earn, the numbers always begin to tick downward again, each second eroding the fragile buffer between you and annihilation. This mechanic is what binds every survivor to the games. Refusal is impossible. You cannot hide in the shadows. You cannot barricade yourself in an abandoned apartment. You cannot simply wait out the nightmare. The Borderland will not allow it. To stop playing is to let the numbers reach 0, and the laser will find you no matter where you stand. The system ensures that every life remains tethered to the rhythm of the games, every breath earned only by participation. The result is a life lived in fragments. You move from one arena to the next, adding days like rations, never storing enough to feel safe. 2 days, 3 days, perhaps 5 if you are lucky. Enough to rest for a moment, but not enough to exhale fully. The visa ensures that fear is constant, that no one forgets the price of failure. Even in victory, anxiety remains, because the clock is always visible, always waiting, always diminishing. More than a timer, the visa is an idea. It is the embodiment of mortality, the reminder that life is never permanent, that every moment borrowed must eventually be repaid. In the real world, death is distant, abstract, hidden behind years. Here, it glows in your palm, shrinking with every second, impossible to ignore. It is the Borderland's cruelest lesson, not that life can be taken at any time, but that you are always watching it slip away. And so you walk through the empty streets, the glow of the visa casting pale light on your face. Around you, other survivors clutch theirs with the same haunted look, glancing at the numbers as though staring into their own graves. Each knows the truth. The Borderland does not kill suddenly. It kills slowly, by forcing you to live under the shadow of a clock you cannot stop. In this world, survival is not about wealth, or power, or luck. It is about time, time earned, time lost, time borrowed, and the visa ensures that you never forget it. In the Borderland, no one is permitted to stand apart. The moment a game is announced, the rules seize hold of every player, binding them with an authority as absolute as gravity. It is not suggestion, not invitation. It is command. To ignore it is to die before the night has ended. Each summons is clear and inescapable. Across the skyline, screens flare with light, broadcasting the details. The time, the place, the card. Players are expected to arrive at the designated arena before midnight. This requirement is not ceremonial, it is compulsory. The Borderland enforces punctuality with merciless precision. Fail to register by the time appointed, and your visa shudders, flickers, and vanishes to 0. When the clock hits midnight, the punishment arrives. A beam of light descends from above, splitting your skull with cold finality. There is no forgiveness for lateness, no leniency for hesitation. The rule is simple: attend or perish. Arrive and you are counted. The moment you cross the threshold of the designated arena, the game registers you as a participant. Doors that once stood open slam shut, gates lock with metallic clatter, windows seal as if welded. Whatever building or street has been chosen transforms instantly into a cage. The Borderland does not allow retreat. Once you are inside, you belong to the game. You cannot bargain your way out. You cannot slip away through shadows. Even if you try, the system ensures you will not escape. The only exit is completion or death. The binding is not limited to walls. It is woven into the very fabric of the environment. The city itself reshapes to enforce the rules. Corridors stretch or collapse. Stairwells vanish into dead ends. Shutters fall with thunderous finality. The arena becomes an engine designed to hold you, turning the familiar into a trap. Even the air seems to thicken, pressing against you, as though the borderland itself were watching, waiting for you to make your move. And then the trial begins. The card dictates the nature of the ordeal, but the binding law dictates its stakes. Victory means survival, extension of the visa, a brief reprieve. Failure means death. Not eventual, not symbolic, immediate and undeniable. Lasers from the sky strike down those who break the rules, their precision impossible to evade. Bombs hidden in the arena detonate without hesitation, ending lives in an instant. Traps spring with mechanical efficiency, crushing those who stumble. The methods vary, but the outcome never does. Loss is not a setback here. Loss is annihilation. This compulsory structure ensures there is no life outside the games. No one can linger in abandoned apartments, hoping to evade notice. No one can escape into the wilderness, hoping to avoid summons. The Borderland allows no loopholes, no secret corners. It funnels every player back into the cycle, night after night, game after game. To live here is to be bound by laws you cannot touch, but must obey. And this binding does more than control bodies, it reshapes minds. The knowledge that escape is impossible eats away at hesitation. Fear becomes constant, pressing players forward even when exhaustion threatens to consume them. You learn quickly that choice has been stolen from you. To be in the Borderland is not to decide whether you will play, but only how you will face the trial that awaits. At Shibuya Crossing, the truth echoes louder than the neon that still hums above. The painted lines once led anywhere, but here they lead only to the same truth. Every road loops back to the game. The summons cannot be ignored. The doors cannot be pried open. The penalties cannot be escaped. You are bound by rules stronger than iron, sealed into a system designed to strip away refusal. And as the night stretches on, you realize the cruel genius of the Borderland. It does not only test your will to survive, it ensures that survival can never be separated from submission. To live, you must play. To lose, you must die. There is no in between. In the Borderland, there are no choices beyond the game. Every breath, every step, every fleeting hope of survival bends back toward the rules, written not in books, but in cards and countdowns. The world offers no mercy, no reprieve, no possibility of escape. Play, and you may live a little longer. Refuse, and you are erased in an instant. It is a law absolute, sharper than any blade, harsher than any decree humanity has ever known. The cards are the first face of this law. They divide the trials into their merciless categories: spades that crush the body, diamonds that twist the mind, clubs that demand cooperation, hearts that rip apart trust. Together they chart the full spectrum of human struggle, forcing players to confront every part of themselves. No matter where you stand, strong, clever, loyal, or cunning, the Borderland has a card waiting to strip away illusion and test your call. Overlaying this structure is the visa. Its glowing countdown transforms life into a currency measured in days, sometimes only hours. Win, and you gain more time. Lose, and your clock vanishes. Even in victory, the numbers continue to fall, tick by merciless tick. A constant reminder that survival here is temporary, conditional, always slipping away. The visa is not simply a mechanism, it is the embodiment of mortality, making visible what people in the living world prefer to forget, that time is always running out. Taken together, the suits and the visa form the totality of law in the Borderland. They replace every structure of order that once governed Tokyo. No police patrols the streets, no courts weigh justice, no government dictates policy. The cards dictate, the countdown enforces. These rules are not argued, not debated, they are carried out with precision, with the cold authority of lasers from the sky and traps that activate without hesitation. There is no appeal, there is only compliance or annihilation. And so the Borderland reveals its cruel design. The city itself is a stage, the climate a weight, the borders a cage, but it is the law of the games that completes the prison. Every aspect of existence bends back toward the same truth. There is no life here outside of play. The environment exhausts you, the air suffocates you, the walls close you in, all to ensure that when the summons comes, you will obey. Yet within this law lies a second truth. No one survives alone. The suits may target different parts of the self, but they all drive people toward each other, whether in cooperation, suspicion, or betrayal. To face a spade, you may need allies to shoulder the burden. To face a club, you must trust, even as fear tells you not to. To face a heart, you must decide whether loyalty is stronger than desperation. The Borderland forces its players into contact, into conflict, into fragile webs of reliance. And it is here, in these webs, that society in the Borderland begins to take shape, not as the orderly system left behind in Tokyo, but as something raw, volatile, and unstable. Alliances form and collapse. Violence erupts in place of law. Trust flickers like a candle in the dark, easily extinguished, desperately clung to. The games are the law, but the people caught inside them give that law its human face. They are the ones who must navigate not just the rules of survival, but the fragile and dangerous bonds that survival demands. The Borderland has stripped away order. Now, in the cage of its rules, a new society begins to rise. In the Borderland, the city itself is only the backdrop. Its empty streets and endless silence form the stage, but it is the people who transform the emptiness into something alive. Stripped of laws, stripped of protection, stripped even of the illusion of permanence, humans become the most volatile element of all. Here, survival is not simply a contest against the rules of the game. It is a contest against one another, against fear, against the fragile bonds that flicker in the dark. At first, most survivors walk alone. Suspicion sits heavy in their eyes, and caution dictates their every step. A countdown ticks on the screen of the phone in their hand, each second a reminder that existence is temporary. Alone, they feel safer. Alone, there is no risk of betrayal. Yet the Borderland is built to make solitude impossible. The games force contact, herding individuals into cooperation or confrontation. No one can remain untouched by others for long. The suits themselves guarantee this. A spade may demand the strength of multiple bodies working together. A diamond might unravel unless several minds combine their logic. Clubs cannot exist without group effort. And hearts, cruelest of all, thrive only when trust has been offered, making betrayal possible. Slowly, inevitably, strangers become companions, however reluctantly, drawn together not by choice, but by survival. These communities are fragile, their foundations brittle as the neon that still pulses above the city's husks. Some bonds emerge by chance, two players meeting at the start of a trial and realizing they endure better side by side. Others are shaped by necessity, when a handful of loners discover their odds are better together than apart. Around scavenged meals, whispered strategies, and shared exhaustion, trust begins to take shape, tentative and trembling. But trust in the Borderland is always provisional. A wrong move in a diamond can doom the entire group. A stumble in a spade can cost another their life. And in a heart, betrayal is not only possible, but written into the very structure of the game. Every handshake conceals a blade. Every laugh carries the possibility of treachery. Bonds here are both shield and weapon, capable of saving and destroying in the same breath. Some groups cling stubbornly to solidarity. They ration supplies, share strategies, and try to nurture loyalty as if it could hold back the cruelty of the world around them. Others gather around power instead. They forge factions, enforce obedience, and use fear to secure loyalty. In these communities, authority is survival, and weakness is punished swiftly. The Borderland becomes a patchwork of these fragile societies, small havens glowing faintly with warmth, ruthless enclaves, ruled by violence, shifting alliances that can dissolve overnight. Between them drift the loners, those unwilling to risk the knife of betrayal. preferring solitude even when it weighs heavy. Each path carries danger. To belong is to risk treachery. To walk alone is to risk despair. At Shibuya Crossing, the truth becomes stark. The city may be hollow, but the people within it are not. They carry desperation, suspicion, and fear, but also the stubborn need to reach for one another. Humanity persists not because the borderland allows it, but because people refuse to let it vanish. Fragile, fleeting, uncertain, community becomes the last defiance left, a candle flickering in the endless dark. Among the fractured groups and fleeting alliances of the borderland, one place stands apart. It is called the beach, a deserted seaside resort transformed into the largest and most ambitious community in this hollow world. Where the city's towers echo with silence, the beach hums with noise. Laughter spills across its hallways, music thunders through its abandoned lobbies, and bodies clothed in bright, flamboyant garments sway in drunken revelry. On the surface, it looks like defiance itself, a community that has chosen life over despair, celebration over fear. At first sight, the beach feels almost utopian. Survivors who once stumbled alone through the empty streets now find themselves part of something larger. They gather in the vast resort halls, sharing food, alcohol, and the comfort of numbers. There is dancing, there are bonfires, there is the illusion that death has been banished, at least for a night. Some wear Hawaiian shirts, others costumes. Some even walk barefoot through the sand, as if they were on holiday. The chaos of the borderland seems far away, drowned out by the sound of clinking glasses and shouted songs. For many, it is the first time they feel human again. But the beach is not a paradise. It is a system, designed and enforced by a man named Hatter, a charismatic figure who declared himself its leader. Under his rule, the beach runs according to strict laws. Every card won in a game must be surrendered to the collective. No individual hoards. No one keeps what they have earned. The cards are stockpiled, organized, and displayed like trophies, part of Hatter's greater vision, to gather the full deck of 52, believing it to be the key to escaping the borderland altogether. This dream binds the beach together, but it also chains its members. Behind the bright clothes and endless parties, discipline is severe. Those who defy the rules face swift punishment. Those who withhold cards are branded traitors, hunted down and executed. Fear keeps order as much as hope does. The community survives not only because people believe in Hatter's utopia, but because they know what happens if they rebel. And beneath the surface of unity, divisions fester. Hatter preaches a vision of cooperation, of gathering strength through solidarity, but others see the beach not as a dream, but as a throne. Among them is Niragi, one of the most feared enforcers, who rules through violence rather than charisma. Where Hatter cloaks authority in the language of hope, Niragi wields his openly, commanding gangs of loyal followers who thrive on intimidation. Their presence twists the beach from haven to battlefield, a place where idealism and brutality collide. The result is a community suspended between utopia and illusion. To outsiders, the beach looks like salvation, order amid chaos, structure amid lawlessness, belonging in a world of isolation. But for those inside, the cracks are impossible to ignore. The songs and laughter are loud, but they cannot drown out the sound of power being contested in the shadows. Every dance beneath the neon lights carries the knowledge that tomorrow may bring blood. The beach is both a refuge and a trap. It offers survivors a chance to live together, to imagine they have reclaimed something of the world they lost. But the price is submission to Hatter's dream, to Niragi's violence, to rules written in fear. The resort may glitter like utopia, but its foundations are soaked in control. Stand on the shore and you can hear the waves lapping gently against the sand, the music echoing across the water. It almost feels like life has returned, and yet, behind every smile, every glass raised to the night sky, lies the same truth. The borderland has not been escaped, only disguised. The beach is not freedom, it is illusion, wrapped in color, built on fear, and destined to fracture. In the Borderland, leadership does not wear suits or bear titles. There are no governments, no councils, no offices to bestow authority. Power belongs to whoever can impose their will, whether through vision that inspires or force that terrifies. In this stripped-down world, charisma and violence replace ballots and laws. The most striking example of this is Hatter, the flamboyant founder of the beach. He rules not with bullets, but with dreams. Hatter preaches of escape, of gathering all 52 cards, of breaking free from the prison of the Borderland. His speeches blaze with conviction, his words weaving a future where the nightmare ends. To the lost and desperate, this vision becomes a lifeline. They follow him not simply because he commands it, but because he gives them something rarer than survival: hope. Hatter understands the weight of symbols. At the beach, he cloaks the brutal collection of cards in ritual. Every trophy surrendered is displayed, each victory turned into evidence of progress. Members drink and dance, not only to drown their fear, but to believe they are part of something greater. His charisma transforms chaos into purpose, and in a world that strips away meaning, purpose is irresistible. Yet leadership in the Borderland is never without shadows. Alongside Hatter's dream rises Niragi, a man who builds his power not on vision, but on fear. Armed and ruthless, he thrives in the collapse of order, surrounding himself with loyal enforcers. Where Hatter's words inspire, Niragi's weapons intimidate. His strength lies in brutality, in the knowledge that fear can bend people as effectively as hope. For those who cannot be swayed by ideals, Niragi offers a different kind of certainty: obey or suffer. Between these two figures stands Aguni, the soldier who enforces order at the beach. He commands like a general, his presence cold and immovable, his authority respected even by those who despise it. On the surface, he appears the true leader of the beach's armed faction, but beneath the armor, Aguni remains tethered to Hatter's vision. He enforces discipline, not out of personal ambition, but out of loyalty to the man who believes escape is possible, and to the fragile hope that dream sustains. This triangle of power reveals the truth of the Borderland. Leadership here is not earned by vote or granted by tradition. It is seized in the moment, shaped by who can offer direction when all else has been stripped away. Hatter offers a dream, Niragi offers terror, Aguni offers discipline. Together, they create a precarious balance, a society always on the edge of fracture, held together only as long as their forces remain in uneasy alignment. But balance in the Borderland is never permanent. Every speech Hatter gives is shadowed by Niragi's hunger for control. Every show of strength from Niragi is checked by Aguni's presence, and beneath it all lies the same instability. The moment one falters, the entire structure risks collapse. For those trapped within this society, the choice is grim. Do you place your faith in vision, knowing dreams can be lies? Do you bow to fear, knowing violence cannot sustain forever? Or do you follow discipline, knowing even soldiers are bound by the ambitions of others? In the Borderland, leadership is not about justice, it is about survival, and survival is never pure. At Shibuya Crossing, far from the beach, the lesson remains the same. Authority here is not written in laws, but carved into the hearts of people desperate for direction. In the end, leadership in the Borderland is less about who holds power than about what people will surrender to in exchange for the illusion of safety. In the Borderland, people reach for one another because they must. The games are relentless, the visa unyielding, the environment suffocating. Alone, a player may endure for a time, but survival eventually demands more than a single body or mind can provide, and so alliances form, fragile, flickering, stitched together from necessity rather than trust. They are born from desperation, and desperation rarely produces stability. There are moments, however, when these bonds feel real. Among the survivors, friendships emerge that defy the cruelty of the world. Erisu, Usagi, and Kuina are one such example. Together they form a small circle of loyalty, bound not by coercion or advantage, but by shared pain and fragile hope. Their companionship becomes a reminder that even in a place designed to strip away humanity, connection can persist. In their presence, survival becomes more than a countdown of days. It becomes something to fight for. Yet such groups are the exception, not the rule. For most, alliances are little more than transactions. Strangers huddle together for the duration of a spade game, dividing tasks, watching each other's backs until the final light blinks and the gates open. In a diamond, multiple minds may work furiously side by side, but once the puzzle is solved, the unity dissolves. Even in clubs, where cooperation is required by design, the bonds fray as soon as the arena is left behind. Each alliance lasts only as long as it is useful, collapsing once the immediate need has passed. The fragility of trust becomes most apparent in the heart games. Here, the Borderlands' cruelty is laid bare. The very rules of these trials are crafted to turn friends into enemies, to exploit suspicion until it corrodes every bond. Players are forced to question loyalties, to weigh their lives against those of the people beside them. A smile can become a mask, a promise can become a trap. Hearts do not simply test survival, they test whether trust itself can exist when the cost of believing is death. This design ensures that betrayal is never far from the surface. Even in groups where camaraderie seems genuine, doubt lingers. What happens if one person's survival demands another's sacrifice? What happens when visas are running short and only one card can extend them? Every alliance carries with it the silent awareness that the people standing closest to you may at any moment turn. The Borderland thrives on this instability. It strips away the comfort of certainty, leaving behind only shifting sands. Communities fracture, friendships implode, and individuals drift once more into isolation, scarred by the knives of betrayal. And yet, again and again, people reach for one another. They form new groups, build new alliances, cling once more to the possibility that cooperation might hold. It is a cycle as relentless as the visa itself. Trust, fracture, rebuild, repeat. At Shibuya Crossing, the lesson comes into sharp relief. Survivors gather, whispering strategies, exchanging glances that mingle hope with suspicion. Every alliance is both shield and blade, capable of saving you one moment and killing you the next. In this world, trust is the rarest currency, and betrayal its inevitable shadow. And so alliances in the Borderland reveal a paradox. Humans cannot endure alone, yet to depend on others is to risk destruction. Each partnership is a wager, each bond a gamble placed against the crushing weight of the games. In the end, survival is not only about playing the cards, but about deciding who, if anyone, you are willing to play them with. The communities that rise within the Borderland are not merely gatherings of survivors, they are reflections, magnifying the best and worst of human nature. In the silence of this hollow Tokyo, stripped of laws and systems, people are left to construct meaning for themselves. What emerges is a fragile society that embodies both hope and cruelty, solidarity and betrayal. The beach is the clearest example of this paradox. On its surface, it feels like salvation, a grand community where people gather under one roof, where music drowns out silence, and where the dream of escape is woven into every rule. To those who stumble into its resort halls, it looks like the closest thing to civilization left. Yet beneath the noise and color, contradictions throb. The beach is not governed by fairness or law. It is governed by charisma and fear, by Hata's vision and Niragi's violence. Its unity is as much an act of performance as it is of belief. This pattern repeats across the Borderland. Wherever people gather, power is not given by election or agreed rule. It is seized. Charismatic leaders promise dreams, violent ones enforce obedience. There is no constitution to appeal to, no court to settle disputes, only the strength of personality and the shadow of threat. Some communities cling to cooperation, holding fragile trust together in the face of despair. Others rot from within, descending into cruelty, ruled by those who understand that in a world with no law, fear is often the fastest way to maintain control. But even in groups that appear united, alliances are fragile. Survival makes trust a scarce resource, one rationed more tightly than food or water. Friends form bonds around necessity, whispering strategies and dividing tasks, yet always aware that a single mistake could collapse everything. In the heart games especially, betrayal is not merely a possibility, it is embedded in the design. These trials are cruel mirrors, turning companions into adversaries, forcing each to decide whether loyalty is worth more than life. Every alliance carries with it the shadow of suspicion, every act of kindness the risk of exploitation, and yet hope endures. Even in the face of constant treachery, people continue to reach for one another. They form groups, they build communities, they cling to the idea that cooperation may offer more than despair. That is the resilience of humanity in the Borderland, the refusal to surrender entirely to isolation, the need to seek warmth in the cold, even when the warmth might burn. Seen from afar, these societies are distorted mirrors of the world left behind. In Tokyo, community was cushioned by laws, by culture, by the routines of daily life. In the Borderland, those supports are gone, leaving only the raw essence of survival. What remains is magnified, kindness and cruelty side by side, loyalty and treachery inseparable, power and weakness revealed in their starkest forms. The Borderland turns society into an experiment. It asks what people will cling to when everything else has been stripped away. Will they build havens of trust, however fragile? Or will they descend into violence, tearing each other apart for a few more days of life? The answer is never simple, for both exist together, intertwined, reflected in every campfire and every betrayal. And so, as the curtain closes on this layer, the truth becomes clear. The Borderlands communities are not stable civilizations. They are mirrors, exaggerating what already exists inside the human heart. Here, compassion is tested until it breaks, and cruelty is given room to grow, unchecked. And within this fragile society, the stage is set for the next ordeal. For it is in these unstable communities that psychology begins to fracture, where fear sharpens into paranoia, where suspicion seeps into every glance, and where hope, however faint, continues to resist. The Borderland has shown us its societies. Next, it will show us the human mind. In the Borderland, death is not confined to the arenas. It does not wait politely for the rules to begin, nor does it strike only when the games reach their climax. It seeps into every waking moment, carried not by bullets or traps, but by the weight of the mind itself. Here, fear is constant, invisible, and inescapable. It presses down like a second atmosphere, shaping every thought, every breath, every heartbeat. From the moment you awaken in this hollow Tokyo, you become aware of it. The phone in your hand glows with numbers you never asked for. Your visa, the cruel countdown of your borrowed life. It ticks downward relentlessly, each second erasing another fragment of time. To live here is to watch your life dissolve digit by digit, a red clock gnawing at your spirit. You know that when the numbers reach zero, the sky will split open, and a laser will strike with surgical precision. No pleading, no delay, no escape, just instant erasure. That certainty burns itself into your thoughts. Even as you eat, even as you rest, even as you pretend to laugh, the numbers remain. It is this awareness that corrodes the mind. In the living world, death was distant, hidden behind years or accidents you could not foresee. Here, it is visible, glowing in your palm, reminding you at every glance that survival is temporary. Each victory in a game adds days, but the reprieve is never enough. Even when your visa extends, the numbers continue to fall, tick by merciless tick, mocking every attempt to feel safe. The games deepen this pressure. Every challenge carries stakes that cannot be softened. Win and live, lose and die. Each failure is final. Every mistake punished without hesitation. This knowledge coils inside you, turning every choice into a matter of life and death. You hesitate before trusting someone. You second-guess every decision. You walk into each arena already exhausted, not only by the demands of the trial, but by the knowledge that your spirit is always on the verge of breaking. Many collapse under this burden before they are ever struck down in the games. Some lose the will to move, their visas burning away as they sit in silence, unable to summon the strength to continue. Others unravel more violently, paranoia boiling over into madness, lashing out at allies, destroying bonds before the games even begin. The Borderland does not need lasers to kill. The mind left long enough under this invisible pressure will do the work on its own. Imagine standing at Shibuya Crossing, the vast emptiness stretching around you, and glancing down at the screen in your hand. 2 days remain. The red digits pulse like an open wound, each flash a reminder that you are slipping toward the inevitable. No crowd surrounds you, no friend pulls you away from the thought. It is only you and the countdown, whispering in your mind, you are running out of time. This is the true cruelty of the Borderland. The environment may suffocate, the games may kill, but it is the constant psychological pressure that wears you down most. It ensures that even in moments of stillness, you are never free. Fear rides on your shoulders, exhaustion coils in your chest, and despair waits for the moment when your resolve falters. In the Borderland, death begins long before the laser falls. It begins the moment you realize your life is no longer measured in years or dreams, but in numbers glowing faintly in the palm of your hand. Few stories show this more vividly than that of Arisu. When he first arrived, he had not been alone. He carried with him the companionship of his closest friends, Karabi and Chota. Together, they wandered the empty streets, bewildered but unbroken, clinging to each other as proof that they still belonged to a world beyond the Borderland. Their banter, their loyalty, their shared confusion made survival feel less impossible. In the Borderland, death is not abstract. It does not come as a statistic in a news report or a distant tragedy glimpsed on television. It arrives in front of you, sudden and merciless, tearing away the people beside you. And when it comes, it takes more than lives. It leaves cracks in the spirit, fractures in the will, shadows that cling long after the blood has dried. Every player learns this truth sooner or later. They walk into a game with allies at their side, only to walk out with empty space where laughter used to be. The Borderland devours not only individuals, but the bonds between them, dismantling trust, hollowing out hope, grinding down resilience. Each death is a lesson carved into memory, that nothing and no one can be relied upon for long. But then came the game that took them. Karubi and Chota sacrificed themselves so Arisu could live, their deaths sudden and devastating. In that moment, the Borderland revealed its cruelty in full. It does not simply take lives at random. It strips survivors of what matters most, their anchors, their sense of belonging, the people who give life meaning. Arisu did not just lose friends. He lost the very framework that kept him steady. The result was collapse. For a time, he could not move forward, crushed under grief, adrift in despair. His story mirrors what countless others endure. In this world, grief is constant, but mourning is denied. Death comes so frequently that there is no time to process it, no space to breathe, no ritual to bring closure. Survivors stagger into the next game, still reeling from the last loss, their minds clouded with images of those who fell. The Borderland allows no pause for sorrow. It demands action even from the broken. The psychological toll is immense. For some, grief calcifies into numbness, stripping away the capacity to feel. For others, it spirals into rage, a desperate attempt to impose meaning through violence. Many fall into silence, their gazes hollow, their steps mechanical. The constant churn of loss erodes not only trust, but the will to endure. It becomes harder to form new bonds when you know they will almost certainly be torn away. Every friendship feels temporary, every alliance doomed. Even the faintest spark of connection is shadowed by the fear that it too will be extinguished without warning. The result is a life lived on edge, where every heartbeat feels provisional, every smile fleeting, every bond fragile as glass. And yet, pain does more than destroy. In some, it sharpens. It compels survivors to honor the fallen, to keep moving when despair says stop. For Arisu, the deaths of Karubi and Chota became both wound and fuel, an unbearable grief that nearly consumed him but also a reminder of what he owed to those who gave their lives so he might live. This duality defines the Borderland. Loss cripples, but it can also harden, turning pain into resolve. In this paradox lies the cruel genius of the Borderland, for it teaches that survival is never only physical. It is the reshaping of the spirit through fire, grief, and unrelenting trial. In the Borderland, the deadliest enemy is not always the game itself. Often, it is the person standing next to you. Under the weight of constant fear, every word becomes suspect, every glance heavy with meaning. A simple hesitation, a fleeting smile, a look that drifts away too quickly. Any of these can shatter fragile trust. Here, betrayal is not an exception, it is the expectation. No games expose this more ruthlessly than the hearts. These trials are designed not to test strength or intelligence, but to fracture bonds. Their rules demand choices that place loyalty and survival in direct conflict. Sometimes the conditions are simple. One must be sacrificed for others to live. Sometimes they are elaborate, with deception baked into the structure, ensuring that lies flow as naturally as breath. No matter the form, the outcome is the same. The hearts force players to see each other not as companions, but as threats. Suspicion spreads quickly under such conditions. A group may enter an arena together, united in purpose, but the moment the rules appear, the air changes. Whispered conversations ignite arguments. Accusations leap from tongue to tongue, each person desperate to identify a traitor before becoming the victim of one. Fear twists perception. A friend's hesitation becomes proof of deceit. A silence becomes a conspiracy. Even kindness is viewed with suspicion, as if generosity must conceal a hidden agenda. The Borderland thrives on this paranoia. It strips people of the luxury of trust, reducing alliances to fragile agreements that tremble under the slightest pressure. The stronger the bond, the more excruciating the betrayal when it comes. Players who once laughed together are forced to question each other's motives, weighing every action against the possibility of treachery. Even the smallest doubt becomes a wedge, prying friendships apart until nothing remains but anger and fear. This erosion of trust rarely ends quietly. Arguments turn to shouting, shouting turns to blows, and blows turn to blood. Groups collapse into chaos, each member desperate to save themselves, even if it means condemning the others. Violence flares in the very moments when unity is most needed, destroying any chance of cooperation. The hearts are cruel, not because they demand strength or intellect, but because they transform allies into executioners, twisting loyalty into the sharpest weapon of all. And once suspicion has taken root, it does not fade when the game ends. Survivors leave the arena with scars that are not only physical, but emotional. They remember the accusations, the betrayals, the moment when a friend's eyes turned cold. These memories linger, poisoning future alliances. Even in games that demand cooperation, the ghosts of past treacheries haunt every decision, ensuring that doubt is never far from reach. It festers like a wound that refuses to close, reminding them that trust, once broken, can rarely be rebuilt. Yet, for all its cruelty, this cycle of suspicion reveals something fundamental about the Borderland. It shows how thin the line is between solidarity and selfishness, how quickly fear can corrode the bonds that hold people together. It reminds survivors that in this world, trust is the rarest currency, and betrayal its inevitable shadow. Stand again at Shibuya Crossing, and imagine the people beside you not as allies, but as potential enemies. The neon above flickers coldly, casting long shadows that stretch between you. You can feel the question tightening in your chest. Who here is lying? Who will turn? Who will strike first? In the Borderland, that question is never answered with certainty until it is too late. The Borderland breaks many, but not all. While some collapse under the weight of fear and grief, others discover reserves of strength they never knew they possessed. The cruelty of this world forces adaptation, and in that process, a few survivors transform despair into resilience. Their survival is not only physical, it is psychological, a triumph of spirit over the relentless pressure of death. One of the clearest examples is Usagi. Before the Borderland, she was a mountaineer, scaling peaks that demanded not only strength, but discipline, patience, and calm in the face of danger. That past shapes her present. In a world where most stagger under fear, Usagi steadies herself. She moves with the quiet assurance of someone who has faced cliffs and storms, who knows that panic is death and composure is life. Her body is strong, but her mind is stronger. When others falter, she holds firm, carrying with her not only her own hope, but the ability to steady those around her. Usagi's resilience is not loud or flamboyant. It is a quiet flame that refuses to be extinguished, proof that endurance can itself be defiance. Arisu's strength is of a different kind. When the Borderland first tore away his friends Karubi and Chota, he shattered. Grief hollowed him. Despair nearly swallowed him whole. For a time he drifted, unable to carry the weight of survival. But pain, relentless as it was, became the crucible in which his resolve was forged. Arisu learned to transform sorrow into determination, to channel his losses into purpose. Gradually, he emerged not as the broken man he once seemed, but as someone others could look to for guidance. He grew into a leader, not through charisma or violence, but through empathy, through the willingness to shoulder the pain of others as well as his own. His resilience lies in his refusal to let loss consume him completely, in his ability to rebuild himself from grief's ruins. Then there is Chishiya, whose survival depends not on connection, but on distance. Where Arisu embraces others, Chishiya steps back. He strips emotion from his choices, calculating with cool detachment. His mind is razor sharp, his strategies precise, and he survives by refusing to be burdened by sentiment. To some, his approach seems cruel. He treats others as pieces on a board, their value measured in what they contribute to his goals. Yet this coldness shields him. In a world designed to weaponize emotion, Chishiya refuses to play by that rule. His strength is logic unclouded by attachment, his resilience the product of deliberate detachment. Together, these figures reveal the diverse ways the human spirit adapts under pressure. Usagi draws from her past, grounding herself in discipline. Arisu transforms grief into resolve, becoming stronger through compassion. Chishiya rejects vulnerability, surviving through intellect and detachment. Each path is different, yet each demonstrates that the Borderland cannot break everyone. The lesson of their endurance is not that suffering disappears, but that it can be reshaped. Fear can become clarity. Grief can become determination. Cold logic can become armor. The Borderland, designed to strip people down to nothing, sometimes uncovers the steel hidden beneath. And so, within this brutal mirror of Tokyo, not all collapse. Some adapt, some harden, some find ways to remain unbroken. Their resilience proves that even here, even under the endless weight of fear and loss, humanity retains the power to resist. The Borderland kills in many ways. Sometimes it ends a life with the flash of a laser, sudden and final. Sometimes it claims a body in the middle of a game through fire, traps, or betrayal. But perhaps its most devastating weapon is slower, more insidious. It eats away at the mind. It forces players not only to survive, but to carry the weight of grief, suspicion, and fear long after the arena has ended. In the Borderland, survival is not just a physical test, it is the ultimate crucible of the spirit. Every death leaves a mark. To lose a companion is to lose a piece of yourself, and the survivors stagger forward with holes that never fully close. Despair becomes routine, hope erodes with every game. Many succumb before the laser ever finds them, undone by the invisible wounds of loss. The Borderland thrives on this cycle, ensuring that no one escapes untouched. It is not content with killing the body, it insists on breaking the soul first. Suspicion deepens the torment. Trust, already fragile, is poisoned by the rules of the hearts, where betrayal is often built into the game itself. Friends glance at each other with unease, alliances fracture under whispered doubts, and moments of hesitation turn into explosions of violence. The Borderland teaches that betrayal is not a rare act, but an inevitable one, that even kindness may conceal a knife. The psychological weight of this realization corrodes every bond. In time, many come to see every companion as a potential enemy, walking side by side, yet never fully at ease. Yet not everyone collapses. A rare few adapt, transforming fear into clarity, grief into determination, suspicion into strategy. They are not immune to the pain, but they learn to carry it differently. Usagi draws resilience from her past, grounding herself in discipline and calm. Ariso, scarred by the loss of his closest friends, eventually learns to turn sorrow into resolve, guiding others when he once could barely stand. Keisha strips emotion from his choices, shielding himself with cold intellect. These survivors show that even in the Borderland's most brutal trials, the mind can endure, can even sharpen under pressure. Still, the transformation is never gentle. To survive here is to be remade. The person who entered the Borderland does not remain unchanged. Imagine standing before a cracked mirror in an abandoned apartment, staring into your reflection. Your face is pale, your eyes shadowed with exhaustion, but beneath the weariness burns something harder, sharper. You no longer recognize the person you were. You have been forged in fire, reshaped by loss, suspicion, and relentless trial. You are no longer who you once were. You are what the Borderland has made you. This is the true essence of the psychological layer. The Borderland is not only a death game of cards and countdowns, it is a relentless experiment in what a mind can endure. It forces its players to confront grief until they are hollow, suspicion until they are fractured, and fear until they are raw. It leaves them no choice but to break or to grow stronger than they ever imagined. And in this, the Borderland reveals itself as more than a place. It is a metaphor, a stage where every rule, every card, every moment of survival becomes a symbol of something larger. The suits, the visas, the trials, each reflects the fragility of life and the cost of clinging to it. The time has come to move beyond psychology, to step back and see the Borderland as more than a nightmare. For beneath its cruelty lies a mirror, showing us not only what people do when forced to survive, but what survival itself means. When seen narrowly, the Borderland appears to be nothing more than a cruel game. Cards are drawn, rules are declared, and players are forced into contests where survival hangs on chance, wit, or strength. But if you step back, if you widen your perspective, the Borderland reveals itself as something deeper, a ritual. It is not simply a stage for entertainment, but a crucible designed to push people beyond their limits, to strip them of illusion, and to demand from them the ultimate answer. Do you truly wish to live? The design of the games makes this intent clear. Each card is not random but deliberate, each challenge structured like a test. Spades grind the body, diamonds sharpen the mind, clubs fracture or forge cooperation, and hearts lay bare the soul. Together, they form a curriculum of survival, a syllabus of suffering. Step by step, game by game, the players are led through trials that escalate in severity, pushing them ever closer to the edge of death. These are not accidents of design, they are examinations, carefully constructed to separate those who will crumble from those who will endure. In this way, the Borderland resembles a rite of passage, a ritual of maturation. In many cultures, young men and women were once sent into the wilderness, tested by hunger, pain, and fear to prove their readiness for adulthood. Here, the principle is the same, though magnified to its most brutal extreme. The Borderland places every participant in the liminal space between life and death, stripping away safety, community, and certainty, forcing them to face their rawest selves. Only when pressed to the brink can a person discover what lies at their core: cowardice, cruelty, resilience, or hope. The symbolism becomes clearer with every trial. A spade game is not only about strength, It is about facing hardship without surrender. A diamond is not only about intellect, it is about clarity of thought when chaos presses in. Clubs demand the skill of weaving human connection out of fear and suspicion, reminding players that no one survives entirely alone. And hearts, most devastating of all, demand confrontation with betrayal, the truth of whether loyalty or self-preservation defines you when the choice is unavoidable. Through this sequence, players are not merely surviving, they are being purified. The weak are broken, the reckless destroyed, the indifferent consumed. Those who remain are reshaped, forged anew. The Borderland operates like fire, burning away everything unnecessary until only essence is left. It is not a school, nor a prison. It is a forge of spirit, a ritual that does not ask for understanding, but for transformation. Imagine it as a vast gateway. Beyond the threshold lies darkness, and to pass through you must climb a staircase of trials. Each step is another game, another death, another sacrifice. Fear haunts you at the base, pain carves you in the middle. But if you climb high enough, something changes. You look back and realize you are no longer who you were. Your body is scarred, your mind hardened, your heart fractured but tempered. You have become someone who has not only faced death, but who has chosen again and again to live. This is the hidden truth of the Borderland. It is not only a place of torment, but a ritual of revelation. It strips life to its rawest form and forces you to declare what it is worth to you. It is a passage, a purification, a ceremony of survival, where every game is both test and symbol. In enduring it, you are marked forever, not just as someone who lived, but as someone who has faced the darkness and stepped through. The Borderland is not only a world apart, it is also a mirror. Every rule, every card, every trial reflects something deeply familiar. What seems at first like an alien nightmare begins to reveal itself as a compressed version of the society left behind, a stage where the same tensions of trust, power, and survival are played out without disguise. In its cruelty, the Borderland strips away pretense, exposing what human communities have always been beneath the surface. The beach offers the most direct metaphor. On the surface, it is a haven, a place of order, belonging, and purpose. But beneath its parties and bright colors lies a nation in miniature. There are leaders and laws, followers and enforcers, factions and rebels. Hatter's dream of unity collides with Niraji's thirst for power, while Aguni enforces discipline through violence. Within this single resort, the contradictions of governance are amplified. Ideals clash with ambition, hope is enforced by fear, and the fragile peace holds only as long as the balance of power remains. The beach is not merely a community, it is a nation-state reduced to its essentials, exposing the struggle between vision, violence, and control. Taken together, these structures show the Borderland as a reflection of human society in its rawest form. In the real world, rules and institutions soften conflict, masking the brutality of competition. Here, nothing is masked. Cooperation is demanded, then dismantled. Trust is built, then betrayed. Power is seized, never earned. Every instinct we suppress in daily life, self-preservation, suspicion, ambition, is given space to thrive. The Borderland does not invent these impulses. It only removes the illusions that hide them. Imagine standing in the middle of Shibuya Crossing, the neon flickering above, and realizing that the world around you is not unfamiliar at all. The games resemble workplaces, governments, relationships, only sharper, harsher, stripped of comfort. The Borderland shows us what society looks like, without laws or distractions, a place where competition and cooperation collide, where trust is precious and fragile, where power shapes every interaction. And so, the Borderland becomes more than a nightmare. It becomes a mirror held to the human condition, revealing truths we prefer not to see. Its games remind us that our world too is built on alliances and betrayals, on fragile trust and contested power. In playing, the survivors are not only fighting for their lives, they are acting out the dramas of society itself, magnified until the patterns can no longer be ignored. The Borderland functions as a rite of passage, a ritual of survival. It pushes people into the liminal space between life and death, forcing them to confront fear, betrayal, grief, and resolve. In this way, it resembles the ancient trials that marked the passage into adulthood, ordeals meant not only to prove strength, but to reveal character. Here, survival is not only about muscle or wit, but about will. Each game becomes a step in the initiation, separating those who crumble from those who endure, shaping survivors into people remade by their choices. But it is also a miniature society, a distorted mirror of the world left behind. Within its walls, people form alliances and factions, seize power through charisma or violence, and betray each other when survival demands it. The games of clubs remind us that cooperation is fragile, but necessary. The games of hearts reveal that trust, once broken, cuts deeper than any blade. The beach magnifies governance itself, hope clashing with ambition, order unraveling beneath the weight of violence. In its cruel way, the Borderland reflects the contradictions of our own societies, where unity and selfishness, loyalty and betrayal coexist and collide every day. Yet the ultimate lesson lies beyond ritual or reflection. The Borderland reminds us that life itself is precious precisely because it is finite. The countdown of the visa is not merely a mechanic, it is a truth made visible. In the real world, time slips by unnoticed, its scarcity hidden until the end draws near. Here, the digits glow red in your hand, shrinking with every second, never letting you forget. Mortality, so often ignored, is revealed inescapably, demanding that you reckon with it. Imagine holding a deck of cards, but instead of numbers and suits, each one bears a moment from your life. One card shows friendship, another loss, another trust, another betrayal. One by one, you draw them, playing through the sequence of your existence. And when you reach the final card, you realize that all along the game had only one purpose: to remind you to live fully, because the deck is finite and the last card will come. This is the philosophy the Borderland presses into its survivors. Life cannot be taken for granted. Death is not only the end, but the measure that gives life its value. To face the Borderland is to be forced into clarity, to see that existence is not infinite, and that meaning must be forged in the shadow of mortality. And so, the Borderland ceases to be just a fictional construct. It becomes a meditation on survival, on will, on the fragile beauty of human existence. It whispers that despair and cruelty are always near, but so too are loyalty, resilience, and hope. In the end, it is not the games that matter, but what they reveal about us. With this layer of symbolism, the Borderland emerges not simply as a fantasy world, but as a philosophy of life and death. And now, let us step beyond analysis into experience, into stillness and breath, into meditation, where we encounter the Borderland, not through rules or symbols, but through silence and the rhythm of our own being. Close your eyes for a moment. Let the noise of your day dissolve, as though you are stepping away from familiar streets into a silence both unsettling and vast. The Borderland, with all its cruelty and symbolism, has already spoken through trials, alliances, betrayals, and fleeting moments of resilience. But now, we are not here to analyze. We are here to simply experience, not through thought, but through presence. Imagine yourself at Shibuya Crossing. The wide intersection lies empty, white lines stretching across the asphalt like veins drained of blood. Above, screens flicker faintly, their dull glow staining the night air. Neon burns in the distance, but it burns for no one. You stand at the center of this emptiness, feeling the weight of the city pressing against you. Silent but watchful, pause here. Let the stillness be not threat, but space, an opening to sense your own breath. Inhale slowly. The air is heavy, humid, tinged with dust, and ivy reclaiming the forgotten buildings. Hold it gently, then exhale, noticing your body loosen, the tension flowing into silence. Each breath is a tether, binding you to the present. Each rise and fall of your chest whispers you are alive, here, now, even in a world that has forgotten life. Now imagine the visa glowing in your hand. Red digits fall steadily, marking the passage of time. At first the sight tightens your chest, but instead of resisting, simply observe. The numbers are not only threat, they are truth made visible. Life has always been measured, though the clock was hidden. Here it glows openly, undeniable. Breathe with its rhythm. Each inhale gathers presence. Each exhale releases. The numbers fall, and yet in this moment, you remain. Become aware of people around you, not as enemies, but as presences, flickering at the edge of thought. Some are allies, some rivals, some shadows of the lost. Let them appear one by one. Feel grief, betrayal, fleeting solidarity. Do not cling. Let them pass like cards drawn and played, each part of a larger deck. With every breath, let them settle into understanding. Connection, however fragile, still keeps you alive. Inhale deeply. Imagine the borderland, not as a prison, but as a mirror. Its silence, its rules, its cruelty, all reflect truths that exist outside the fragility of trust, the weight of mortality, the need for resilience. Exhale, and let recognition soften into acceptance. The borderland may be harsh, but it is only another face of the world you knew. Now turn inward. The games fade, the city dissolves, and what remains is the sound of your breath. Feel air moving through you like a tide, cleansing fear and grief. Each exhale leaves you lighter, each inhale steadier. You are no longer a player. You are simply a human being, breathing, alive, carrying both fragility and strength. Stay in this stillness. The silence is no longer hostile. It has become the quiet that allows you to hear yourself again. You do not need to run from the borderland, nor struggle to fill its emptiness. Let the stillness of this world become a mirror, reflecting not fear, but the quiet that already lives within you. What seems desolate is in fact an invitation to pause, to rest, to turn inward. Imagine yourself walking slowly through the abandoned streets. Towers rise around you, their glass cracked, their frames softened by vines curling upward with patient persistence. Weeds push through the asphalt, grass spreads across sidewalks, and small flowers bloom where footsteps no longer fall. The frantic noise of the city has faded. What remains is a canvas for nature, a place reclaimed by stillness. In that stillness, you too may rest. Pause here. Notice the air, heavy, calm, scented with ivy and damp stone. Inhale deeply and let your breath carry the patience of the vines as they climb, the acceptance of the grass as it spreads quietly across forgotten ground. Exhale and release the tension of resistance. The emptiness is not an enemy, but a stage on which your inner voice can finally be heard. Now let your mind wander beyond the buildings. At the city's edge, the forest surges inward. Trees rise tall, their branches weaving a canopy of green. Birds rest on rooftops, wings catching fragments of light as they glide through silence. The borderland, once defined by steel and glass, is softened by leaves and roots, by the slow return of life. Let this remind you that silence is not death, it is renewal, the pause between one heartbeat and the next, the space where transformation begins. Turn inward again. Picture yourself holding a deck of cards, not spades, diamonds, clubs, or hearts, but fragments of your life. One holds friendship, another loss, another trust, another betrayal. One by one, you lay them down across the empty street. They are not threats, but truths, moments that have shaped you, stepping stones of your own journey. With each breath, draw a card and let it pass. Inhale, recalling laughter. Exhale, releasing sorrow. Inhale, remembering courage. Exhale, letting go of fear. The deck is finite, and in that finiteness lies its meaning. Every card teaches, every memory holds weight, and together they form the story of who you are. As you breathe, let the Borderland silence become a companion. The ruins and vines are not destruction, but endurance. The empty streets are not voids, but pathways inward. Accept this stillness, and you will find it does not imprison you. It frees you, reminding you of the quiet strength always waiting within. Stay here a while, resting in this reflection. The Borderland has become a mirror, and in its silence, you see yourself more clearly than ever, fragile, enduring, and alive. You have walked the silent streets. You have seen vines climb the towers, grass soften the pavement, and silence press against your breath. Now it is time to move deeper, beyond the city, toward the threshold the Borderland has always represented. Imagine standing before a vast gate. It is simple, an arch of weathered stone, opening only onto shadow. You cannot see what lies beyond. To stay here is to remain uncertain. To step through is to accept the unknown. The Borderland has always been this, a liminal space between life and death, fear and acceptance. Pause, inhale slowly, drawing courage into your lungs. Exhale gently, releasing hesitation. Feel your body steady, your mind calm. The gate asks nothing of you but presence, your willingness to move forward. Now, picture yourself holding the deck of cards again. As they pass through your fingers, you see not numbers or suits, but memories. One bears the warmth of laughter, another the sting of betrayal, another the shadow of grief. Each card is a fragment of your life, finite, irreplaceable. With each breath, draw a card and let its memory surface. With each exhale, place it down as an offering. The deck thins, and when only one card remains, you pause, its edges are frayed, its surface worn. You turn it over and see not a moment but yourself, your breath, your resilience, your will to live. The final card is you. Hold it closely. Understand that the Borderland has always been a ritual, a mirror to show that life is precious, not because it lasts forever, but because it ends. The game concludes not to punish, but to remind you, every choice, every connection, every breath matters, because it cannot be repeated. Now step through the gate with this card in your hand. The shadow is no longer frightening. It feels like a passage, a transition. As you cross, the silence softens into something almost sacred. You are not fleeing, not resisting. You are moving forward with acceptance, carrying the lessons of the cards, the resilience of survival, and the understanding that even endings hold meaning. Stay here a moment. Inhale and feel the weight of your journey. Exhale and let it rest. You have crossed the threshold. You are ready. Now let the Borderland begin to fade. The streets, the games, the silence. Allow them to drift behind you like a dream dissolving at dawn. You do not need to carry its weight any longer. Fear, suspicion, grief, release them. What you may hold instead are the lessons the Borderland gave you, that every breath matters, that every moment is fragile, and that life itself is precious precisely because it does not last forever. Inhale deeply. As you exhale, imagine the images loosening their grip, the empty intersections, the glowing visas, the flicker of betrayal in someone's eyes. All of them dissolve into mist. With every breath you are lighter, freer, no longer bound to the shadows that clung to you. This is not denial, but release. The Borderland has already served its purpose. It revealed fragility, but also resilience. It forced you to face despair, but it also showed you the strength to endure. Now let it rest, and let yourself move forward. What remains is the calm you discovered in stillness. Feel it once more, steady and unshaken, like a pool of water reflecting the endless sky. In this calm, you are not a survivor of games or a player under pressure. You are simply yourself, unburdened, present. Beneath the noise of fear and the weight of struggle, there has always been this core of silence, waiting for you to return. Notice your breath again. Inhale and feel renewal filling your chest. Exhale and let go of burdens that no longer serve you. Each cycle of breath is complete, each moment whole in itself. Every inhale is proof of your existence. Every exhale, a reminder that life is enough in its simplicity. Now imagine returning to the world beyond the Borderland. The streets are no longer empty. Voices rise, footsteps echo. The warmth of human presence surrounds you once more. Yet the lessons remain. Trust is fragile. Time is finite. But meaning is born from impermanence. Do not carry the fear of endings. Carry instead the reminder to live fully in the time you have. See yourself moving through an ordinary day. You laugh with someone close. You pause to watch the sky shifting its colors. You take a step and feel the ground solid beneath your feet. Each act is a card in the deck of your life. The deck is finite, but its meaning immeasurable. And when the final card is drawn, it will not erase what came before. It will affirm what mattered, that you lived, that you breathed, that you were present. Stay here in this clarity a little longer. The Borderland has faded, but its mirror remains, showing truths not to frighten, but to awaken. You are fragile, yet strong, finite, yet meaningful, every breath fleeting, yet infinite in its value. And now, as you return fully to yourself, let this final truth settle gently. Life is not a game to be won, but a gift to be lived. Breathe it, feel it, honor it. You are here, you are alive, and that is enough. Borderland has been many things: a world of silence, a mirror of society, a ritual of trial, and a meditation on mortality. It has revealed the fragility of trust, the inevitability of loss, and the necessity of resilience. Yet beneath its cruelty lies a truth that endures. Life, even when brief, carries immeasurable value. Within its games, we glimpsed reflections of our own world, the need for cooperation, the risk of betrayal, the weight of choices that define who we are. Within its silence, we discovered not only fear, but also a stillness that allowed us to hear ourselves again. Every card drawn, every countdown endured, every fragile connection formed became a reminder that existence is fleeting, and that this fleetingness is what gives it meaning. As the borderland dissolves behind us, let its lessons remain. Life is never guaranteed, yet it is always precious. Trust may be fragile, but it is worth offering. Time may be finite, yet it is enough when lived with presence and intention. Carry this awareness with you into each breath, each step, each moment. For survival is not merely about enduring, it is about remembering to live fully while you still can.